When it comes to predicting U.S. presidential election results, few people can rival the track record of Allan Lichtman, a professor of history at American University in Washington. He developed the keys to the White House system, a checklist that weighs the chances of the incumbent or challenger taking the prize. He's correctly called 9 out of the last 10 elections since 1984. And Allan Lichtman joins us now. Allan, good to have you with us. You first predicted a Harris victory back on September 5th, and you've maintained that prediction. Why, when most people think it's too close to call?
Because my prediction system is unique. It rejects the pundits. They're buddies of mine, but they have no scientific basis for their prognostications. They have no track record of advanced prediction. And by the way, don't give any credence to anyone who claims they can predict elections without an extensive track record. My model has been essentially right, and I can argue it was even right in 2000, the one people think got wrong, because I proved in my report to the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights that Florida messed up, that Al Gore should have won Florida going away, but for the rejection of black ballots. But historians will be debating 2000 forever. But essentially, I've been right since I predicted Ronald Reagan's re-election in April 1982, when 60% of Americans thought he was too old to run again, and his approval ratings were historically low. That was the first of many times I made predictions against the polls, including in 2016, when I predicted a Donald Trump win, which did not make me very popular, in 90% plus Democratic Washington, D.C., where I teach at American University. Right. But
Allan,
what makes the keys... Yeah, go ahead.
Talk us through the checklist.
Yeah. The keys are different than anything else because they gauge the strength and performance of the White House party. In other words, the fundamentals, not the fluctuating polls or punditry. And here are the 13 keys. They're simple, integral parameters. Mandate based on U.S. House elections. Incumbency, contest for the incumbent party nomination. Third party. Short and long-term economy, policy change, social unrest, scandal, foreign/military failures and successes, and only 2 keys have anything to do with the candidates, asking whether, and they're very high threshold keys, asking whether the incumbent or challenging party candidate are one of those once in a generation, across the board, transformational, inspirational candidates like Franklin Roosevelt, the Democrat, or Ronald Reagan, the Republican.
Allan, what are the chances you could be wrong? You say don't pay attention to the campaigns of both candidates, but given how tight the race is, that 1% undecided will probably refer to the campaigns of the 2 candidates before deciding.
No one, I repeat, no one has a successful track record of predicting elections by looking at the campaigns. That's an illusion. Based on the campaign, Hillary Clinton should have won on a landslide in 2016. She won all the debates. She raised more money. She had more ads. She had a better organization. But she lost. You know, did John Kerry run a worse campaign than George W. Bush? He also won the debates against that very bad debater. Did Hubert Humphrey run a worse campaign than Richard Nixon in 1968? No way to tell. That's why I look at the fundamentals. And this idea that this race is undecided or close is based upon the misleading polls that led, virtually every pollster and pundit down the primrose path of error in 2016. The most eminent compiler of polls, the Princeton University Consortium, one of the great world universities, gave Hillary Clinton a 99% chance of winning. And I stood by my call of Trump. And by the way, I got a note after the election which said, congrats, good call, and in big Sharpie letters signed, Donald J. Trump.
Allan, your checklist does not include the possibility of influences from people like Elon Musk, for instance, the biggest donor for Trump, and he controls the social media, X at least, and he does wield a lot of influence. I mean, might your checklist perhaps be missing out on some of the other aspects which may be influential?
Well, my checklist is not just made up. As I said, I've been successful in predicting for over 40 years. No one else has a track record like that. And retrospectively, I developed the keys in 1981, looking at 1860 to 1980. And in 1860, we had no automobiles, no planes, no radio, no television, no polls. Women couldn't vote. African Americans were enslaved. Many demographic groups, like my ancestors from Eastern Europe, weren't here yet. We're an agricultural economy. So the keys have endured enormous changes in our society, in our economics, in our demography, in our politics. That's why I don't sway and change them in response to what people say, oh, this year is different. For example, in 2008, the critics said, you got to change your keys. America's not ready to elect an African American. Of course, if I'd listened, I would have been wrong. And in 2016, people said, oh my God, after the Access Hollywood tape with Trump bragging about sexually assaulting women, got to change your prediction. He's finished. I didn't. I stuck with it. And I am right. I was right then. You can't change a model based on 160 years of politics on the fly based on what critics say.